Hey, how y'all doing? This message is out to Will Smith. Will, just wanted to give you big props, man, for all the good things you're doing in, for the kids, the movies, overbrook production, and with your own son that you did the last movie, Karate Kid. Watched the movie, loved it. You know, my kids watched the movie, they loved it as well. But I just wanted to let you know, Will, there's a lot of things going on out there right now in the movie industry that, it's just a lot of garbage, to be honest with you. I'll be straight up with you. A lot of things out there right now that just doesn't make any sense. And I know you know this better than anybody. You grew up in the inner city. You grew up, where you just had to be real with everything. And right now, I believe in Hollywood, there's just a lot of pencil pushers, a lot of paper pushers that they don't really care about real, original, authentic material or whatever. Majority of them are fat cats that just lay up their chairs and pretty much wait for other people to do things for them. But knowing the type of person that you are, and I don't know you personally per se, but based on what I see as far as your work and your material and things like that, I can see that you're an original person. You have your ears to the streets, and you have you definitely have you have that foresight, you have that vision of good things to come, and you exercise that by showing it in your movies and in your persona and every other thing that you do in life. So basically, what I'm trying to say, Will, is this. I'm sure you, being the educationally conscious person that you are, you've seen the new movie Waiting for Superman. The in-depth movie gave a lot of in-depth, basically a lot of in-depth ideas about some of the things that were going on in the inner city, and it also categorized both the inner city children versus the middle-class suburban kids as well. It analyzed their test scores, it analyzed their goals, their achievements, and things like that. And obviously, as it always seems, the inner city always comes out at the bottom of the barrel. But basically, to make a long story short, I don't feel this movie really shed fine light on what's really going on in the inner city. And what's really going on in the inner city is that majority of kids, they don't care. It's just like they lost all hope. Kids out there nowadays, they're not waiting on Superman. They know Superman doesn't exist. It's never existed for them. But what they are interested in is the culture, this hip hop culture that all of them delve into, that all of them put their hope, all their emphasis on. And when I say hip hop culture, I just don't mean rappers or entertainers or anything like that. I mean the football players, the basketball players. I mean anything pretty much in the culture or whatever that resonates something about them progressing without necessarily doing the conventional orthodox thing that everybody else does in this world. And that's the difference between growing up in this era or this generation versus growing up in our parents' generation. Our parents' generation was pretty much just to do the conventional, the orthodox thing by going to school, get a good education, and after that, the world is yours. But the kids nowadays or whatever, it's just a totally different scene. I know you remember back in the day in the '80s, the old movie that with Morgan Freeman, what was it called? Lean on Me, where Morgan Freeman brings a baseball bat into school and beats the kids upside the head. He walk around with a baseball bat like a warden, and he's beating senses into them. They sitting down, they doing everything they're supposed to because this man got a baseball bat in his hand, and he got a pretty foul mouth. And the kids' test scores went up, and all the teachers and students fell in love with him, and at the end of the day, everything was honky dory. That doesn't happen anymore. That was an isolated situation that was for that era. Kids nowadays, they bring in pipe bombs to school, they bring in automatic assault weapons to school. They don't care. There's nothing you're going to do to scare them. There's nothing you're going to do to reform them in any form or fashion. So like the old saying goes, if you can't beat them, join them. And I believe that the way we can join them is by asking them what their interest level are, asking them what they like, asking them what motivates them to be who they are or why they like this. And I think the very general, and it might be a vague idea, but the very general idea is this, is that nowadays these kids, whether they're white or black or whatever, rich or poor, all of them can relate to this hip hop culture, and of course this hip hop culture or whatever started in the inner city, and they can relate to it because they feel that these hip hop artists or this hip hop persona understands their life or their mentality better than their own parents do. So they stick to it. They act like them. They wear the shoes that the hip hop artist wears. They do the same things that they do. Any form of fashion, any which way that they can, they try as much as possible to be like these people. And at the end of the day, what always transpires is hip hop itself getting this negative connotation that if hip hop is pretty much the reason why there's so much violence in the streets. That hip hop is the reason why so many of these kids are doing so many negative things. Hip hop is the reason why kids are dropping out of school. I mean, you hear this whether it's the hip hop summit or anything in relation to the media. Majority of the time, hip hop does not get any good rap for anything. So basically, make a long story short, Will, in reference to the things that's going on right now in society, and I believe education is a big thing. Like I said, based on the movie Waiting for Superman. I mean, this got accolades from President Obama himself, and a lot of other different different media outlets too that saw the movie. But like I said, Will, I don't think that the movie gave an in-depth look at what was really going on in the real inner city. You know, just like I do. I grew up in the inner city. I'm a product of the inner city. Grew up in D.C. back in the '80s when drugs was all over the streets. That there was pretty much no hope. I mean, hell, the mayor of D.C. back then was smoking crack. So if the mayor of D.C. smoking crack and getting into the same stuff that these kids are getting into, who's there to motivate you? Who's there to inspire you to do great things? But like I said, the point I'm trying to make across to you, Will, is this: is that 5 years ago I wrote a screenplay, particularly dealing with this main subject at hand, which is the things that's going on in the inner city and how hip hop pretty much interrelates to everything that goes on in these kids' lives. And we have to understand that, and we have to embrace it, because this is part of their world now. They don't live 40, 50 years ago where the conventional thing, like I said, was to go to school, get a good education, like our parents did, and then everything would be honky-dory. No, they live in a generation of gunfire, of crack, of drugs, of you name it, it's in society. And it's so easy to get overwhelmed. It's so easy to join into that clique or that group or whatever, that these kids, they find out that they feel the only outlet is hip hop. So they tune everything else out. What's going on with their parents, what's going on in the schools, what's going on with the teachers, they tune everything out, and they feel like hip hop is the only solution for them, because it's the only way that it's the only thing that they feel understands their struggle or their day-to-day activity. And I feel, like I said, this screenplay that I wrote 5 years ago goes in depth into that, of what's really going on in the inner city. It's sort of like a sister movie to Waiting for Superman. Waiting for Superman basically gives you a broad idea, or makes you aware of what's been going on in the inner city, as far as statistics, as far as test scores, as far as pretty much the breakdown of all the things that are going on with the inner city youth versus the middle class suburban youths, and the difference between them. But like I said, I don't think it necessarily shed a fine light on what's going on out there in society right now with these inner city youth. I mean, they go home to parents that are drug addicts. They go home to domestic violence. They go home to their girlfriend that's 14, 15 years old that they get that's pregnant with their second or third kid. I mean, these are the kind of things that goes on in the inner city. And like I said, my screenplay, Inner City High, delves into all these things and goes into it and shows what really goes on in the real inner city that a lot of people don't get to see, or that a lot of people just pretty much stereotypes or generalize it because they don't understand. But I know, as being from the hood, being from growing up in Philly, growing up in the midst of all these things or whatever, you understand that. So my message to you is simple, Will. Inner City High, I believe, is the movie that will start a revolution. A revolution with these kids, to change their persona, to change the way they think, to change the way they feel, to change their educational level. Instead of always continuing to fail in school, maybe because of this or whatever, it'll motivate them to do better, or motivate them to want to do things for themselves and for their generations to come. I believe Superman, Waiting for Superman, gave us an awareness. My movie, or my screenplay rather, Inner City High, is going to create a revolutionary movement. And I want you to get at me and let me know. Let me know what you think, Will. FEYI02@AOL.com.